Hello, folks. You're all very welcome back to the Celtic Soul podcast. And on this episode of the podcast, I will continue my conversation with alternative view editor Matt McGlone. And in this one, we kept the tape running from the original podcast. And Matt told me about his recent Irish citizenship, which he received at the age of 70. He spoke about his ancestors and what his Irishness means to him, and indeed the Glasgow Irish. So just back in the HQ, it was an early flight this morning, back from Glasgow. Thankfully, no delays today after Sunday night's 5 hour delay and an hour and a half going over to the game. So I spent more time in airports on Sunday than I did in Celtic Park and around the ground and around the hotbeds of Celtic fans. Last night was a Baltic cold night at Celtic Park, but we did get the win, 2-0. I think I'm still torn out after. Dundee United, tough game. They parked the bus, but thankfully our Japanese Maeda, got on the score sheet himself, and then he set up the second goal for his fellow countryman Hatate. Another man of the match performance for Engels, who seems to be gathering up some collection of sparkling champagne for his performances, and I think Callum McGregor said in the press conference last night that, not the press conference, when they spoke after the game, he says, I think his father's picking the man of the match, which was a little dig at him. But it just goes to show that there's good camaraderie in the team, and the captain can see the light side of things. As I said, a Baltic night in Celtic Park, and fair play to all the fans who turned out. And those who did turn out were treated to a back catalogue of Celtic karaoke, as the Green Brigade and the boys to my left, Green Brigade across in the corner, I sit in the main stand. They really kept the show going last night, because there was, apart from a few moans and groans, the rest of the crowd was fairly quiet, and indeed not many wanted to take their hands out of their pockets because it was that cold. But you can always rely on the ultra groups, love them or hate them. They always give great vocal support to the team. And Brendan Rodgers, after last night, will understand that it was nothing personal against Greg Taylor when they sang the Kieran Tierney song. And also, the fans will not be dictated to by the manager of what they should and should not sing. And last night we had the Lisbon Lions, we had Martin O'Neill, we had Henrik Larsson, Charlie McGrew and Paddy McCourt. They even got a few choruses of old chants and songs. And it was. I enjoyed listening to them, and even though it was probably a dig at the manager, it also brought back some great memories of those great characters and great players who graced the green and white of Celtic Park. And hopefully now that's put to end, because as Liam Kelly wrote for the new issue of the Fanzine, a storm in a teacup, and I can't agree anymore. Although the media in Scotland, they seem to cling to it. During the pre-match conference ahead of the Dundee game, they couldn't get enough of, asking Brendan about it. And, it just, every Celtic supporter gets behind every fan, and even if they're having a bad time, or they're not performing, like, you're going to hear moans and groans in a football ground. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast. Celtic fans are no different to any other fans. When it's going well, you're going to be cheering. And when you're frustrated, you're going to be moaning and groaning. And that's just life. I mentioned there, Lima drove for the fans, and thanks very much to all the contributors who contributed. We've edited the whole magazine, and now it goes over to Richie, our graphic designer, to put his magical stamp on it. And the print edition of the new issue will go on pre-sale over the next few days. So if you want it in your letterbox, get onto the website, and we'll put up a link there so you can go in and buy the copy. And we're delighted to announce that Paul Sheridan from the Wakes will be coming back to Drogheda. We had a great night at the Wakes last Monday night in Glasgow. What a gig! What a band! And last year, Paul came and he done the Shane McGowan songbook as a tribute after Shane passed away. We were in Odd Molly's last year in Drogheda, but this year we moved to a bigger venue. We moved to the Purple Room, which is in the Crescent Concert Hall, and that's on Saturday the 1st of February. So we didn't want to have it in January for those on dry January. So what a way to enjoy a pint and the music of Shane McGowan than in the company of Paul Sheridan. There will be a support act on the night, and I suppose I might get on the decks to close out the night if we're planning a late one. Tickets are on sale for that now. They're on Universe, and you can also get them on our website, CelticFanzine.com. And also on the website, you'll find all our news and blogs, podcasts, and video content. And if you are on our YouTube channel, Celtic Fanzine TV, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost a penny, and it builds up our subscription base. And you'll also get alerts every time we post a video. Now, there's a new channel, I'm told, on YouTube called Celtic AM, but it has nothing to do with our show, Celtic AM, which is a live show. And you'll also see them live shows on our channel, Celtic Fanzine TV. And I'm sure the lads that are hosting the new channel did not know there was a Celtic AM existed. And we wish them all the best of luck. Um, Anyone who's been with us for a long time know that we hosted the Celtic AM show in Malone's before COVID for many years, where we would have ex-players, authors, fan groups, musicians coming along, telling their stories to us, and the musicians would give us a few songs, and then we would head off to Celtic Park after having a great morning, a bacon roll, a cup of coffee, and even on some occasions a couple of pints. And then we, after COVID, we moved to Murphy's, and we done it there. But just due to work commitments, I had to knock it on the head. But we do still do the show sporadically, and the next one takes place in Thailand, where we were before. And it was great because it also, I never knew when I started the show in Malone's that it would lead to a podcast. And I never knew it would lead to doing the show, as I said, in Thailand. And also, we've done it in the US. We were invited over to do it in Philadelphia for 2 years running on Super Bowl weekend. So they were brilliant things. And it just goes to show that there was a bit of love out there for the show. And if I had the time, I'd love to do it pre-match. Maybe we might get back to doing it, as I said, sporadically or occasionally. But I think you need momentum for something like that, because when we started, there was a handful of people, and then it grew week by week, month by month. And we done one on the roof of Malone's before a Rangers game, which was brilliant. That was a great day. But anyway, yeah, we're back with Celtic AM in Bangkok as part of the Trip to Thai Celtic Festival, which is the third one we've done. 16th of March, we'll be on the rooftop in O'Shea's before the Celtic Rangers game with former Celtic legend, I suppose, of the Martin O'Neill era. He played in that famous game in Seville. And he's a pocket load of medals. Didier Gat will be joining us. So I'm looking forward to that. I've interviewed Didier before, and he's a lovely bloke. And his story is a great story of where he came from and the injuries he went through, and how Martin O'Neill, I suppose, like John Hartson, took a risk on him. But we're going to be getting his take on what it's like to be in the dressing room on those big Glasgow Derby days. And again, folks, that's in Bangkok on the 16th of March in O'Shea's. We'll be guests of the Bangkok Celtic Supporters Club, and then we'll be heading off to Hua Hin for the rest of the festival down on the beach. And tickets for that are also on sale on the website alongside the Paul Sheridan tickets. Big shout out to Pitch Publishing, who have recently published Rudy Vatter's book, a great book. I read it over the Christmas period. I've interviewed Rudy before, and a fascinating story he has from coming from communist Albania to Dublin to play to play for Ireland after he had gone. After he claimed asylum in France after playing against Eric Cantona, he stayed in France seeking asylum, and then when communism fell in Albania, he rejoined the Albanian team, became captain, and Liam Brady signed him when they played Ireland in Dublin. And I suppose the rest is history. Rudy had a good career at Celtic, and I suppose in some trying times, but his book is really good, well worth a read. And that's from Pitch Publishing, and we'd like to thank them for the kind support. Once again, they've supported us over many years of the fanzine and now the podcast. So, and also they've done over the years, and you can, if you click into the link on our website, you'll be able to buy the Jackie McNamara book and a couple of David Potter's books they publish as well. And David's books are top of the pile when it comes to Celtic writing. So yeah, get over to Pitch Publishing if you fancy a book for an upcoming holiday, or you just like reading books. But really, Vatas is the latest, and it's well worth adding to the Celtic Book Club. And if you're a business or Celtic supporter and you would like to sponsor the podcast, I'll take out some advertising in the fanzine or on the website or on a newsletter. You can email us at info@celticfanzine.com, and you can message us on social media. You'll get us on X, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So, is there anything else? Yep. If you're an individual and you want to support us and you like what we do, we don't put anything behind the paywall. There's no Patreon or anything. The only thing we charge for is the fanzine. So if you'd like to support us, you can do so by becoming a member. Membership start at $9.99. You can subscribe to the fanzines. They start at $5.99. Buy a t-shirt or some merchandise on our online shop. And you can also donate for the price of a copy. So without further ado, let's hear from Matt again. Oh, Matt, I almost forgot. Uh, you know, you've been part of the Irish Glasgow scene for a long time, but a bona fide Irish passport holder at 70 years of age. Tell us.
Yeah, well, I'm an Irish citizen, and I never actually knew how that would make me feel until it happened. I should have done this a long time ago. My mother's father came here from Milne, which is a wee border town in Armagh. And I'd always thought I should do this. But, he never get round to doing it. And there was lots of paperwork involved and documents and birth lines and death certificates and marriage certificates. Anyway, about a year ago, I decided to do it. And with help of Sean McDonough, who's a writer in the Alternative View, I got everything together. Plus, my sister helped me. I've only got one sibling, my sister, and she's been living in Texas for the past 45 years. Through her and her husband, we managed to get everything together. Because my father's been dead 46 years, and my mother's been dead 22 years. So and grandparents are all gone. So wasn't anybody you could have a conversation with to say, what were these dates, etc. So we found out the dates. And there must have been about 9 pieces of documentation, all those things that I mentioned there. And I sent off, and the Irish government said to me, we've got all your documents and you won't hear anything for between 9 and 12 months. So that's quite a long time to hear absolutely nothing. And when I was over here, getting slightly emotional thinking about this, when I was over here the other day, I got an email from the Irish government to say that I was now registered as an Irish citizen. And I've got to tell you, the impact of that on me was enormous. I was thinking back home, forgot it, and I'd be jumping about the house going, yeah, it's a real burst of emotion. God, I can't believe I've got it. Because you hear nothing for so long, you begin to doubt whether it's going to come through. Did I not fill something in properly? Did I miss out a document? Anyway, when I got it here, I burst into tears. The emotion completely and utterly overwhelmed me, and I'll tell you why. I wasn't even thinking about the passport at this point because it's a 2-stage thing. You've got to be an Irish citizen first, and then apply for the passport. So I can do that when I get back. No major rush for that. But to be given citizenship was amazing. And what it made me do, I immediately went into a thought pattern of how did I get here? Well, my mother and then her father. Her father came from Killeen, and he was born in 1891. Now, for him to be born in 1891, he came over here and he married Mary Ann Burns, who was my mother's mother. And so therefore, if he was born in 1891, his parents must have been children during the Great Hunger of 1845 to 1852. And it took me right back to the end of why I got this citizenship. And overwhelming, that And then it came back from there, if that makes sense. The lineage from the Great Hunger to my grandfather being born in 1891 to him coming over, marrying Mary Ann Burns, who was my gran, and they had a daughter, Mary Teresa, and that's how I got it.
Yeah, I can see your emotional Matt there about like obviously I take my Irishness for granted because I'm born and bred here. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's I think there is a lot of people. It's so important to to connect with the country of the ancestors. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe John Fallon has got his sorted as well. And it was
Yeah,
a long road for
uh-huh.
John.
Yeah, John's got it as well. The last lineage you can go through is your grandparent. If your mother and father are Irish, then any children born of them in the UK or elsewhere, the Irish regard them as already being Irish citizens. So they can apply directly for a passport. For myself, I had to go through a thing called foreign birth registration. I'm not sure John's route, but I have spoken to John through the years about it. And, I think he waited years, maybe 2 years. And he had told me, initially it's not about applying for a passport. It's you have to be made a citizen of Ireland, first of all. And that's the hard part because you have to prove to the Irish government that you have a lineage and you have to prove it 100% of every piece of documentation going back. If there's a hiccup in the documentation, and that can hold things up. And also, which is good that the Irish government recognises, I've learned through this process, is that names have changed a wee bit from slight differences. Like my grandparents' name was McGinnity, but it became McGinty over here. And I think that was probably because my grandfather probably couldn't read or write properly. And he wrote down McGinty instead of McGinnity. Or else it could have been the person taking the name when he was getting married or he had a child born, that they wrote down McGinty and it wasn't his fault. They wrote down McGinty, and when all the paperwork says McGinnity. So even despite all that, all the paperwork that I got over the last 130 odd years, there was various name changes from McGinty to McGinnity, and which is my mum's maiden name. And even with that, and given the explanations to everything, we eventually got there. It's not an easy path, and patience is the key. But yeah, it was an overwhelming feeling. It really did hit me.
And when you say the spelling of the name, it could have been because the person couldn't write or read, but it
Yeah,
also could be. I've known from. I'm almost sure Henry McGarvey, who's the sub editor of More Than 90 Minutes, and Henry's a long time friend from Glasgow. Now, Henry's mum is from Clotterhead, which is just out the road from me, and Henry still has the family cottage, comes over on holidays. But Henry, I'm almost sure Henry told me that his dad was from Glasgow. He'd come over to Ireland. He met his mum, and I think they might have moved to Belfast to work, but he had to change the spelling of his name
yeah,
um,
yeah. Max,
to get a
sometimes
job.
Max. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, Max had to O'Neill's had to change their names to MacNeil's and things like that. Um, and if you had a very strong name, which you regard as an everyday name, but in Britain it'd be regarded as a real Irish name. Back then, when bitterness and sectarianism was probably worse than it is now, which is really hatred and racism, they made people change their name if it sounded too Irish. They would put a Mackin in front of it, or they would change their name completely because they would be vilified and picked on because they came from Ireland. And that's another reason I felt very emotional about the whole thing, because I can understand him coming from Ireland and with a name like that, he would have been picked on and vilified here. So all these people fought through all these things, and here we are today benefiting from it. And I just think that's amazing.
When I think of the Irish diaspora, um, Like I was at the Wakes gig on Monday night. You know, the quintessential Irish Glasgow band. You know, the lyrics they sing about. Paul Sheridan, brilliant songwriter, and 11 of them on stage. It was wonderful, wonderful night and brilliant gig. But one of the songs is you know about you know the Irish in the White House. You know Kennedy. I know, and that's an incredible journey from Wexford to the White House. And I took my mum down during COVID to stay down in the Rue Glen Hotel, which is close to the Kennedy homestead, because she always wanted to go. She loved Jackie, and I took them down, and you know you're standing in the original house, and there was a brilliant tour guide, and it just they were barrel makers, you know, who headed to America, and incredible that you know someone from you know from that little farmstead in Wexford, you know, could become the president of the most powerful country in the world. And then even you know, if I have another love outside sport, it's music. And I look to you know the late great Shane McGowan, you know the London Irish, Morrissey from the Smiths, uh, like, like like I'm sure so many of the Glasgow bands, um, you know, have Irish ancestry, and like it's just incredible that the level that the Irish have went to from the arts, culture, politics around the globe, you know. And I think we could do a series of podcasts on the Irish diaspora.
Well, they reckon that the Irish diaspora around the world at the minute is touching 300 million, around the world, which is come out the island. It's amazing, and you're talking about bands there, and they have got great love with music as well. And the music that we're hearing, we all know the Glasgow pubs that are playing music, loads of them, loads, mostly in the town round about Merchant City up Glasgow Cross, but also in districts in Glasgow. Back then, that would have been frowned upon. Those establishments would have been attacked, for playing Irish music and people enjoying themselves. Now that's when, I love to see, the phrase Glasgow's green and white, and nothing epitomises that more than when we win the league or the cup and the whole of Glasgow Cross, you take a picture from the sky, it's just thousands and thousands of people in green and white and gold, all celebrating. Now, you couldn't have done that all those years ago because there would have been attacks and people who go down to Glasgow Cross now. In those days, they wouldn't have felt safe to do that. But now they do it because we want to do it. This is our city. We live here. They live here as well. As far as we're concerned, they'll probably say the same. But, this is our city. So we celebrate in our city. And, down in the Gallowgate, Glasgow Cross area, toll booth, round about there, people just having fun. People complain that there's incidents come from such a large gathering. Well, why don't the Glasgow District Council have a designated area? There's marches that go through our city and they have designated areas to go to. Once they've marched, that they all go to. Why can't we have a designated area like Glasgow Green? Have it all done properly. Celtic and the District Council, it can't be difficult. That can't be difficult to arrange. Have a huge big area where we can have the stages, bands playing, and everybody who wants to be there is there, and they're not bothering anybody else. I find that odd that people complain, oh, Celtic fans left rubbish behind, they did this, that, next thing. Well, you'll always have an element in any crowd. But as far as I know, a lot of Celtic fans either right afterwards or the very next morning went round and cleared all the rubbish up themselves, along with the district council people. But why not give us a designated area that we can go and celebrate, and we can put stages up and have bands on, and we can play all the music which is not offensive, and we can just celebrate our heritage. Is there something wrong with that? People celebrate their heritage all over the world. New York, Boston, that they have Paddy's Days everywhere. Do you not do a gig in Malaysia and they celebrate it over there as well?
Thailand, yeah.
No, in Thailand, yeah. So, here we are celebrating Irishness all over the world. but in Glasgow it's frowned upon. You don't have anything organised, a big St Patrick's Day celebration in Glasgow. It's only when Celtic fans spontaneously do it after games that, winning championships or cups.
Yeah, Matt, you mentioned St. Patrick's Day. Isn't it incredible that there are St. Patrick's Day parades throughout the world? And the huge Glasgow Irish community do not have a St. Patrick's Day parade on St. Patrick's
Yeah.
Day. That's incredible.
In Glasgow, yeah. There's nowhere in Scotland that has a parade. Now, I know there's been several groups trying to organise such. I know there's been several people trying to organise such. But district councils seem to frown upon it and haven't given any permission yet. Yet, we have our lives disrupted by other walks that march through the city with impunity and go to a big, generally a park, where they all gather later on. Why can't have the other half of the community have that as well?
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a basic question, isn't it? It's such a basic question.
But when I tell people that, like, they struggle to get their head around it. They go, so it's not celebrated. Now I know Coatbridge do a festival, every year, but at the same time, the city centre, and like I've always said, Glasgow is whoever runs Glasgow City Council, they should be commended for getting the Commonwealth Games, the Champions League final. Glasgow hosts some huge events. It has the Commonwealth Games again tonight, right? But yeah, in a city full of Irish people, they don't celebrate. And St. Patrick's Day would then become a destination for people from around the world. Say, yeah, we've done Dublin, we've done New York, let's go to Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
And it would bring revenue to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's one of them things that just and from someone that doesn't live in Glasgow, I know why it doesn't happen, because it's sectarian and it's bigotry. But at the same time, you're scratching your head when you're standing looking in from the outside.
But if we're given permission, it can happen.
Yeah.
This is sectarianism and the bigotry. That is there. But if we're given permission to organise it can happen. For me, there's only two blocks to that. The two blocks are the police and Glasgow District Council. Either or both together are not making this happen.
Yeah. And can you imagine, Matt, as well, right? Like the Grand Marshal is a big thing, of any parade, even in our hometown here, who's the Grand Marshal this year? That's the big thing. Can you imagine some of the people from the Glasgow Irish community and, from rock and roll, from football, from politics, that could be the Grand Marshal, It would be incredible for the city.
Well, Grand Master's not a phrase we use.
No, Grand Marshal, not Grand Master.
Oh, Marshal.
Marshal, yes. Does a sympathetic take Grand Marshal?
I thought he says Grand Master.
No.
So I was thought maybe there was one of the Hibernians that was a name they used as well.
No.
There's no reason why not. There's so many creative people in music who are Celtic minded. And I remember I interviewed David Heyman, the actor, for the Alternative Views a couple of years ago, and asked him why he thought that was. Why are so many of the musicians and great actors Celtic fans? It's got to be at least 10 to 1, And he says it's because we came from an oppressed mentality that we became creative people. And that really made me think. I thought, crikey, you're right. If you're oppressed and you've always maybe been frowned upon, you do become more creative. You have to think outside the box. And when you think outside the box, you become creative. You're not part of the norm. You're not part of the establishment. You're creative. You're creating something else in music, in the arts, and showing love. in music and whatever. We have so many creative people who are well known throughout the world who are from our society.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Like, it's proud. When I always say, we've given the world, great poets, great musicians, and river dance.
Guinness,
You know, um,
Guinness.
there's actually a documentary coming up. My wife was telling me about it. There's a documentary or maybe a series coming up about the Guinness family, um, and the job creation, the jobs that the amount of people that worked for Guinness and the houses, and what you got for working for Guinness. So that's going to be interesting because I think people looking at the outside think that the Guinness is by these shillelagh Irish people, but which is untrue. But like at least Matt, we were able to keep our Guinness in Ireland, and we didn't run out over Christmas because they ran out in the UK.
Well, I never ran out.
Matt, I look forward to having a pint of Guinness, and you know what? I'm just going to put this out maybe after the original podcast, maybe as a little bonus at the weekend. So, folks, you're listening to this and you haven't heard the main podcast, listen to me and Matt talk about all things Celtic. And this was just because I forgot to mention Matt had become an Irish citizen. So, Matt, welcome to Ireland citizenship. It's great to have you. And it's great to have the likes of John Fallon on board as well. And we'll talk soon.
Talk soon, Andrew. All the best.
Thanks for listening, folks. Always nice to chat to Matt. 70 years of Celtic, emotionally Celtic. That's another book well worth reading. If you get a chance to read Matt's book, I'm not sure if it's still in print, but I'm sure there's a couple of copies floating around. For further listening, folks, with Matt, he's been on a number of podcasts, but he also, in one of the earlier episodes during COVID, we done kind of Matt's life story, about his book, his involvement in fanzines, his dad taking him to games, and obviously a big part of the podcast was his involvement with Celts for Change. So that's well worth delving into. And all podcasts are available across whatever platform you download, be it Spotify, Apple, whatever. But you can also visit CelticFanzine.com and you'll find all the podcasts there from episode 1 up to the current episodes. And we'll also have all the videos there. If you go into CFC TV, you'll find all our video broadcasts on the website. And this weekend, we're scheduled to travel to Dingwall to take on Ross County. Once again, tickets are like hen's teeth. But I'm hearing last night, someone gave me the nod that the game may not go ahead, but I don't want to be scaremongering because it may. But the weather, the weather is playing havoc with games, and it's looking like it could get worse up there. But at the moment, the game is still on. And until you hear more, don't be listening to me. Folks, keep the feet. Keep the feet. Folks, keep the faith. And we'll be back in there next week with another episode of the Celtic Soul podcast. Hail, hail. Enjoy the weekend.